3 reasons I do what I do are tattooed on my arm. It's the name of my wife, Julia, and my 2 sons, Ryan and Josh. So Ryan's a John Ryan Allen, like I'm a John Carl Allen, but we all call him Ryan. Although when he moved to Australia when he was 14 with my ex-wife, that was pretty fucking painful as well. I didn't want him to go. I remember we had a really bad winter, I think back in like 2010 in the UK, and his mother and her husband, they decided they didn't want to live in the UK anymore. They wanted to move to Australia where it was sunny and nice. They moved to Brisbane. So I remember them telling me that they were thinking about emigrating, and I thought, well, it's never going to happen. It's, you know, really quite difficult to emigrate to Australia, unless you buy a company there, of course, then it's really easy, which I've since done. But they decided to kind of move, and it took a few years for like their visas and everything to come through. I'll never forget the day, you know, I walked into my ex-wife's kitchen. You know, we stayed really close friends after we got divorced. You know, she'd met her new husband while we were married, you know, wanted to marry him instead, which I was totally cool with because I wasn't around. So they told me, they said, hey, we've got the visas, you know, we're moving to Australia, but there's just one problem, Carl, you need to sign this legal document to kind of give us the authority to take Ryan to Australia with us. And I just thought, you know, fuck that. There's no way you're taking my son away from me. And the realization kind of hit me. And I thought, well, you know, what can I do? So I tried to talk my son out of it. And I said to him, I know what I'm going to do. You and me, let's go on holiday. 1 week. Pick anywhere in the world you want to go and we'll go. And he said, I want to go to New York. So he and I, we flew to New York. We stayed in the Waldorf Astoria. You know, we had a great time. We went to ice hockey games at the Statue of Liberty. We did all this freaking amazing stuff. And at the end of the holiday, we're flying back, and I treated him. We flew business class on what was then Continental. I think it's now part of United now. And he said, Dad, he said, I don't want you to stand in my way. I have this vision for my life. I want to go to Australia. I'm going to crush it. I'm going to follow in your footsteps. I'm going to build, you know, the family legacy like you've done. And I thought, you know what? Go for it. I'm not going to stand in your way. And that was a pretty painful moment. That's the first and only time I've ever cried in front of my children. So he'd stay with me for the weekend. His mother would come to pick him up. He's at the front door of my house in Lancashire, and he was going to Australia. He was emigrating. I'm bawling my eyes out. You know, my little boy Josh, who I think was 4 at the time, he's looking at me thinking, I didn't know Dad cried. I didn't know grown-ups cried. I was really emotional, taking my son away from me. So the day came when my son Ryan was emigrating to Australia. So this was in 2011. So this was August the 16th, 2011. It was a Saturday night. On the Sunday, he was going to be flying to Australia with his mother and his stepfather. He was leaving 2 of his children behind, so I could kind of understand the pain that he was going through. And my wife, Julia, bless her, arranged for us to fly to Barbados the next day. Her, myself, and my younger son, Josh, who was 4 at the time, he was born in 2008, that we were going to Barbados. She wanted to take my mind off it. And I remember going to a party on the Saturday night with the couple that had bought my last house. And I was in the house, and I had all these lovely memories in that house with Ryan, so I was really upset. And my son, Josh, was looking at me, who thinks, you know, I was a total badass, which is what I am, and he couldn't believe that I was crying. And he's like, Dad, I've never seen you cry before. It's like so weird, and I think it was emotional for him as well. So I'd agreed with Ryan and my ex-wife Amanda that I wouldn't go out to see him for at least 3 or 4 months and give him some time to kind of bed in. So I remember flying out. It was about 4 months later. So it was the 1st of January 2012 that I decided I was going to go out and see him. I thought, well, Australia, I'd been there once before. I'd been there on vacation a few years back, and I knew it was a really cool place, so I was keen to go. And I decided that, you know, I would reframe that incident and I would do something about it. So I thought, well, I can go to Australia. I know how to buy businesses. You know, I was very active then at the time, buying and selling companies for myself. So I would go to Australia, I would buy companies, and those companies would generate cash flow. It would help put him through private school. It would pay for me first class to go and see him whenever I wanted. I could go and see him 2-3 times a year. I could fly him back. We could have a lot of fun. So that's what I did. So he went. But then the really cool thing about it was the following summer is I married Joshua's mother, Julia. So we were getting married. It was the 12th of July, 2012, and Ryan flew back to be my best man, and it was amazing. I was so proud of him. He was probably 14 at the time. Yeah, he was 14. And he flew back as a 14-year-old and stood up and gave a best man speech at my wedding that was absolutely amazing. And I knew then he was going to be a leader and a badass in his own right. And he's done phenomenally well. You know, he's incredible. You know, he went to a great private school, aced all of his exams, went to university. And the irony was he wanted to do corporate finance like me. He wanted to buy and sell businesses. And he and I have actually since done a deal together, which is quite interesting. We've done a no money down deal in Australia that we still own. But the irony is, you know, he wanted to go to university and study business and finance and do what I do. And he was flying back one year. It was literally just finished his exams and he was applying to go to university. And he was flying back on the plane and he watched what for him and I is our favorite ever movie. It's a movie about Steve Jobs. So there's like been 2 movies done about Steve Jobs. The first one was called Jobs, which has got Ashton Kutcher in it. For me, it's the best film I've ever seen. It charts the story of how Apple was founded. The second film with like Michael Fassbender is a really shit film, I have to say. Don't like that film. But the first one, amazing. He watched that movie and then I picked him up from the airport and we got home. He's like, Dad, you've got to watch this movie, because he knew I was a huge Apple fan. He knew I was a huge Steve Jobs fan. It's like, Dad, you've got to watch this movie. It's amazing. So we watched this movie. At the end of the movie, he said to me, he said, I don't want to do business buying. He said, I want to work in the computer industry. I want to be like Steve Jobs. So he did. He changed his application and he went to the university called QUT, which is the Queensland University of Technology. It's the top technology university. It's like MIT in Australia. So he went there, aced it, got a distinction, and now he works in the IT industry. So up until recently, he was working for Boeing as a software engineer. And then now he's set up his own IT services and consulting business with my help, and he's crushing it. You know, he's doing some phenomenal stuff, and he's earning an absolute fuck ton of money down there. He's doing really well, and I'm so freaking proud of him. He's a rock star, and he's modeled me through my life. You know, he's seen grow up. I used to travel everywhere with him. You know, we've had a phenomenal life and we're best friends, and I don't think of him as my son anymore. Obviously he's my son, he always will be, but he's like my little brother. You know, he's almost 23, I'm 49. You know, we have so much fun. You know, he's in a great relationship. You know, they have a beautiful house in Brisbane. You know, I'm going to be seeing him in January. He's coming over to see me. I was down there in the summer to see him. So yeah, I love this guy to death. I love everything about him, and he's his own man. You know, he's done some wonderful things in his life, and I'm so super proud of him. My youngest son as well, he's amazing. You know, he's such a little live wire. He's really gifted at soccer. You know, he's phenomenal at drama. He's got a photographic memory. He can read lines and memorize them. He's mildly autistic. Which means sometimes he has a little bit of a temper, and you know, he can get angry when you take him out of his routine. But he's super smart, super bright. He's got a wonderful personality. Looking forward to seeing him. And then, you know, my beautiful wife Julia. You know, she's amazing.